Sarasota, and that boat is real ready to put points in the bank today.
Superboat stock. This will have a always do. This is the 35th annual Key West World Championships presented by Geico, and it's great to have everyone along all around the world and the World Wide Web. Live streaming on Superboat.com, SpeedOnTheWater.com, NASCARDigital.com, and on the airwaves, 1600 AM WKWF. Great to have you along for this very, very fast ride. Our next race is scheduled for 12:30. We will have 2 starts, and the first start will be Superboat Extreme, those very, very fast V-bottoms, and Superboat V, the single-engine V-bottom boats. They'll be starting together, 8 boats in that fleet. And our second start of the 12:30 race will be Superboat Stock, and then we have 5 boats in Superboat Stock. The Outboard Boys will be checking them out as well. This is a very, very fast race course. It is 4.5 miles in length. The breezes have stiffened somewhat, but not very much. Maybe 1.5 foot chop out there, which will just be barely enough to free up these larger hulls. But there are some rollers out there, as they always are, Nancy, and you have to contend with that. And we have some much bigger rollers that bounce off the mold here, this concrete abutment that we sit on, and that bounces back out there. But the main thing they have to be concerned with is that hole down there just as they come around turn number 2.
Yeah, the hole always makes it exciting in the afternoons. Sometimes you'll get the glare off of the water there, and then that hole, as they hit it, we've had some quite type of times there. Our breath gets taken away in these guys. But yes, it has picked up a little bit. We've got a little bit of cloud over the top of us, Stan, so it makes a very nice day for us right now. It was very hot this morning and very calm, which made it exciting for the first race, Stan. If we want to recap what happened this morning with Manufacturer Production 3 and Production 4. Unfortunately, we only had 2 boats go out there in Production 3. That was Second Amendment, the P32, P33, the developer Blue Heaven. Blue Heaven left us after the first lap, and then Second Amendment kind of dropped out on the third. In Production 4, we had 2 Cruel going neck and neck going around the turn on the 4th lap with Christie's Photographies, and Christie's Photography got caught up in their wake and did make a spin there in the harbor. One of the gentlemen did fly out, but fortunately everybody was okay, and I heard rumor that they actually wanted to get back in the boat, keep going, but they weren't allowed to.
Yeah, that was a throttle end, Bob Christie, but he got right back in the boat, ready to continue the battle.
And the guy and our race control said no to go, which gave 2 Cruel the unofficial finish, and then followed up by Crazy Chicken, No Vacancy, Maxed Out, and of course Christie's Photography's out. But all of this, of course, is unofficial, Stan, because they do have to check the boxes.
Exactly. We're watching the boats head out now to their milling circles. They're leaving the inner harbor. There you get a good shot of that Hooters Instigator. We have a few moments now. Let me run down the lineups for you. Superboat Extreme, that boat right there, number 1, 40-foot Fountain, Johnny Stanch and Peter Meyer on board. Number 12, Freedom. We saw them just about a moment ago. That's the husband and wife team of Jackie Piper and Joe Ferrer in a 42-foot Fountain. We've seen them before, but they have a new sponsor, and they are called Freedom. Number 30, Twisted Metal Motorsports Cooper Standard. That's also a 40-foot Fountain. Brett Lee Firschman and Billy Glick on board. And then finally, number 40, Outer Limits. That black 40-foot Outer Limits with Joe Scrow and Steve Curtis on board. Formidable team right there, no doubt. In Superboat V, number 2, BoatFloater.com, father-son duo. Stephen Kildall with his dad, Steve Kildall, on throttles. Number 9, Phantom, Mark Neiman, Tom Madalena. Number 51, the national champions this year in a 29-foot Extreme, Steve Furman and, of course, Steve Miklos. Number 66, LSB Lilly Sport Boats, Britt Lilly and Ronnie Umland aboard that boat. In Superboat Stock, our national champions, S1 Papa's Pilar Rum, Mike Fossey, Scott Porta. S19 Frank and Jimmy's Propeller, Jimmy Harrison, Gary Ballou. Gary doing double duty today. We'll see him back in another class a little later on. We'll talk more about that later. S29 Talbot Excavating, Kyler Talbot, Jay Muller. Jay will also be doing double duty today, running again later on. S110 Smart Marine, Chris Schoenbaum and Sean Torrente. And finally, S111 BBR Blake's Brothers Racing, young Tanner Lewis and Ryan Beckley aboard that 30-foot Douglas Skater catamaran. These boats will be running 30 miles. That is 6 3/4 laps. We have several lap counters with us today, not to mention Nancy D., who is the ultimate and the consummate lap counter herself. She's been doing this for quite a number of years, and she's good on the laps much better than I will readily admit. So 6 3/4 laps on this 4.5-mile course. It is a very, very fast track, 1 1/2 foot chop. So we'll be seeing some high speeds, probably in the Superboat stock class, probably about 105, maybe 110 if they got the bigger props on. And in the Superboat Extreme class, probably 120 plus, and the Superboat V 90 miles per hour plus. So it's going to be very, very exciting. There's a beautiful, sinister shot of that number 40 Outer Limits, Joe Scrow and Steve Curtis on board. They are in their counterclockwise milling circles. They always mill in the same direction that they will race in. So obviously racing counterclockwise, Nancy.
Well, that's definitely one for. Now, Outer Limits has been racing for quite a few years, have they not, together?
They have. They make a very, very good team. Well, now Steve and Joe haven't raced a lot together. But they both raced for many, many decades together, so they've got a lot of experience under their belt. They joined up this year. That's the only boat that's a non-fountain in the class. There you see a good shot of it. But speaking of fountain boats, let me say hello to our good friend. Saw him earlier in the VIP tent, Mr. Reggie Fountain, who was on the board of governors for Superboat International. Reggie, a good friend of John Carbonell, and it's always great to see him. He looks like he's still in tremendous condition. He could be out there racing if he wanted to.
Absolutely, and I think there's times that he really wishes he could be back in the boat. It's nice to see Reggie out here for this race, and he'll be here all 3 days. We want to welcome everybody to come on down here to the Outer Mall. This is the best place to watch the races. You get, I would say, lap by lap out here. We let you know exactly what's going on. You've got some incredible food, some great stuff to drink, lots of things to buy, and just like I say, this is ultimately the best area to be to watch these races, Stanley. You get the harbor, you get to see that first turn, and if you're in the right spot, you get to the second turn as well.
We get to check it all out. I want to check out and say hello to our race promoter, Kerry Bartlett. He's always listened in and watches in on the live stream. Of course, we're looking forward to our first race of next year in Cocoa Beach, and Kerry does a great job. And also want to give a shout out to 2 new races in Mentor, Ohio. Mark Small will be handling that race, and in Port Jefferson, New York, another new race for us next year. Billy Moff is in charge of that one, so we're certainly looking forward to those 2 new races. And they're talking about maybe even some other races that haven't been signed yet, but things are really taking off for Superboat International. And while I'm at it, let me say hi to Jack Arnett and all the Michigan City crew that's down here. They all came down here as they usually do, and they put on a great race for us every year as well. So all kinds of action. And speaking of action, we're just moments away from action and looking for that orange smoke as the boats continue to counterclockwise mill off plane. I'm seeing a red flag flying on pace boat number 1, that 42-foot red and white fountain with Rich Dan Decision aboard, and they're just making sure that it's right on time right now, 12:30, so we should be starting momentarily. And Nancy D., I know you get really excited when the boats get bigger and they get faster.
Oh, yes, I get as excited as you do, Stan. You and I have both screamed like little girls when they come flying by here.
Tommy Sanders also loves the action. He'll be joining
Scream
us.
the exact same way. Full disclosure on that right there.
Tommy's
necessary.
Feel free to scream whenever you want to, buddy.
You've done it now, Stan. You've done it now.
The gates are wide open for screaming. Be a scream fest. I think I did kind of scream a little bit. I just see some orange smoke now being displayed. Barely see it. There we go, right there. Great shot. Our cameraman out right on the Johnny on the spot for that camera shot there. But when Christie's Photographers did a complete 360 in midair and threw Bob Christie out, I think we all kind of caught our breath. Our hearts stopped momentarily, but it's great to know that he is A-OK, as Nancy told you. And we're getting ready now. Superboat Extreme and Superboat V will be in the first start, 8 boats, and the second start will be, of course, the Outboard Boys, Superboat Stock. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fast-paced. It should be deck to deck. And remember now, this is half the laps, half the points. It'll be full laps and full points on Sunday. So this is a sprint race. They let it all hang out. And these guys, there's your yellow flags. They'll be coming off plane now. Getting up on plane, coming out of their milling circles. So these guys will be really going all out, everything to the wall, if you might say, as our pace boat starts to make a left-hand turn to port, and he'll be getting up on plane. The boats will be getting behind him, and they'll be forming a straight line roughly 100 yards back. They'll get up to roughly 70 miles per hour before they lower the yellow flag, raise the green flag, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going racing all around the world on the live stream and on the airwaves in 1600 AM. Great close-up camera action. The boat's getting up on plane now. You see the smoke wafting in the distance. Okay, air fountain is up on plane now. Look over to the right of your screen. You'll see the boats. That's the Outer Limits boat. Steve Curtis, Joe Scrow. You see that high rooster tail. That will lower down as they get some speed built up there. See right there. And here come the rest of the fleet. All right, the anticipation.
Oh, Stan.
Oh, my God.
That if you don't
I just had to do that.
Give it a song. Thank you.
Some elevator music to calm you down before the
Stan.
thing gets really going. Green flag, here we go. We are going racing. Oh, on the inside coming up. Look at that. Twisted Metal Motorsports Cooper Standard really taking off. They were just shot by Hooters Instigator as they head out to turn number 1, Tommy.
First step toward a world championship. There's 3 days of racing here in Key West at the World Championship. And of course, we have both the Superboat Extreme and the Super V class, 8 boats total out there, Stan. And we are watching very closely these big boats in the Superboat Extreme, these V-hull boats.
They're already up to full speed as they head up to turn number 1. They are halfway there, probably about 120 miles per hour. And here's our second start, the outboard, fellas. These are 2.5 liter outboards. Except for Gary Ballou is still racing the 200 horsepower, but he will not be doing that next year. Everybody's voted on 2.5, so that's going to be very, very interesting. Makes a very, very even playing field. Even though those engines are not produced anymore, there's enough spare parts around. They wanted to stick with the 2.5s as we still have a yellow flag on pace boat number 2. Boats are lining up and watching for that green flag. There you go, green flag, and here we go. It's Talbot Excavating closest to us. Papa's Pilar Rum side by side. Everybody side by side as they head out and make their way towards turn number 1. The outboards, Tommy, not quite as loud as those big block V8s.
And it's just been told to me that boatfloater.com just went right back into the harbor.
Oh, I hate to see that. Wow. So he did not make the start. But that does not mean that he cannot be a world champion, because anything can happen Friday and Sunday with double points. And here we come. This is Superboat Extreme. Good battle. Looks like still our leader, but not by much, is Twisted Metal Motorsports Cooper Standard. Brett Lee Firstman and Billy Glick in that red 42-foot fountain. Just behind them is Hooters Instigator, Tommy.
Watch this, Twisted Metal Motorsports, second during the regular season competition. Looking to make a statement here, trying to get out front and get top points on day 1.
And third place, Tommy, is number 40, Outer Limits. Look at that multi-step hole go by. Very, very solid third place as they head down into the inner harbor to make that left-hand port turn and then head out again for turn number 1. And here comes our leader in the Superboat V class. It is Lilly Motorsports, number 66, looking very, very strong. Brett Lilly and Ronnie Umland. Second place, Sunprint, number 51. They're the national champions. Well, I tell you what, Tommy, those Superboat V's really got spread out, you know, in that first lap. I don't know if something
Absolutely,
happened or
we're
not.
still looking for some of them right now. Of course, if you had to pick a favorite coming into this thing before this race started, you'd say the Hooters Instigator, first place throughout the course of the season, overall consistent performance.
But right now they are checking out the rooster tail of Cooper Standard as number 9 goes by. That is Phantom. Do a little bit of chine walking back and forth as they hit some of the rollers. Oh, Talbot Motorsports is your leader in Superboat stock, S29. Second place, S1, Papa's Pilar Rum. And third place just behind S111, BBR. And fourth place, FJ Propellers. I know they wish they had those 2.5s on there, but they are a little down on horsepower with those 200s in these smooth water conditions. Rough water, Tommy, as you know, evens the playing field, but in these fairly smooth water conditions, you need all the horsepower you can get.
We don't want to look beyond the moment here, but rough water may be in our future at some point during this week's racing. Yes, it is. It certainly was in last year's case.
All right, lap number 1 completed in the books. This is the 35th annual Key West World Championships.
Well, there's the one we were looking for right there.
Yeah, that is
the Freedom Boat.
Yep, and look, we got a problem here too. This is Patriot Vapor. That's the Smart Marine boat. They got a problem as well, S110. Wow.
See if they're going to stay in this thing. It looks like they may stay the course at least for a bit.
They are, Tommy. They want to complete as much mileage as they can, as many laps as you can, but Freedom is all the way off plane. They are just limping They'll be coming by us here momentarily, but the battle rages on out there in Superboat Extreme. It looks like it is Cooper Standard, Twisted Metal Motorsports with the lead over Instigator.
Those are the 1 and 2 boats, again, through the course of the season at the 4 events, the 4 stops of the regular season leading up to this event. What a disappointment for the number 12 Freedom boat, Jacqueline Piper, Joe Ferrer.
But screaming by is your leader in Superboat Extreme. And they perhaps added a second or two to their lead over number 1, Hooters Instigator. Those are sister ships. They're both 42-foot fountains with the swim deck removed, 40 feet in length.
2 of 6 3/4 laps completed for those 2 boats, and bringing up the rear here, the 3rd boat left in this race. That's going to be the Outer Limits boat.
Exactly. There you see a good shot of Freedom limping back to the wet pits to be craned out. They'll be working on that boat tonight. They'll burn the midnight oil should they need to get that thing back in contention for round number 2, which comes up Friday.
And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily out of it. We saw it last year. Teams could go out of a race, not finish, not post a time, and still be back in the mix on the final day. So don't write them off yet.
That's the beauty, Tommy, of this system that John Carbonell came up with. Half points Wednesday, half points Friday, full points on Sunday, so it's still anybody's world championship. All right, here comes the battle in Superboat V. Wow, looking really good. Lilly Motorsports, Britt Lilly, Ronnie Umline from Maryland, with right now, Tommy, a commanding lead over this boat, which is the national champion, number 51 Sunprint, Steve Miklos and Steve Herman. Normally when these boats, Tommy, run full laps, they have that fuel burn off and things can change, but in these sprint type races with the half the laps, you got to let it all hang out early and continuously.
And a bit shorter course this year, right, Stan?
It is. You're exactly right. 4.5 miles. They brought it in a little bit more for more laps. Talbot Excavating, your leader. Pappas Pilar in second place. Third place in Superboat V, number 9, Phantom. Whoa! FJ Propellers getting by BBR Racing. BBR, of course, stands for Blake's Brothers Racing. Now that S111 is the shortest boat in that field. That's the 30-foot skater. I think that boat is for sale, actually, but they're still racing it until they do get it sold. All the other boats in that class are 32-foot Doug Wright. Wow, I'll tell you what, Tommy, that Lilly Motorsports is just taken off. They have just checked out.
Fast and loud. Loving it.
Commanding lead over.
They're looking and sounding so good.
As are these boats. This is your battle for Superboat Extreme. It hadn't changed since the green flag was flown. It is Cooper Standard with about a 3-second lead over Hooters Instigator.
Out into the final straightaway of lap number 3. Superboat Extreme, and man, a 2-boat race at this point, Stan.
The sound of power as they go by the sound of thunder. Now those Superboat Extreme boats are maxed out at 6,600 RPMs. They have the same motors, as you know, Tommy, as the Superboats, but the Superboats are allowed to tack it up to 7,000. So they get a little more horsepower out of the Superboats that we'll be looking at a little later on in our last race of the day.
Twin V8s is the standard for this class as well, and of course a multi or mono hull. You can go either way with this.
And that was the finish of Superboat Extreme. They're going into their 4th lap. Superboat V and Superboat Stock are still going around on their 3rd one.
There you see a good shot of number 1, and they are national champions this year. They'd like to be world champions, but they'd have to run down a very, very fast red fountain in front of them to get it done here in round number 1. Peter Meyer back on board. He laid out for a couple of years and he actually retired, but he's back in the fray, and we're glad to see him there.
Oh, he's one of the big figures, one of the high-profile guys in the sport here, and his name's on everyone's lips if you walk around Key West here for sure.
He's a great guy.
He's
as
a
well.
great guy, and it's so good to see him back. And don't let him out, because it's only the first day.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Stan, half points today, full points on the final day, which opens it up a little more, makes everyone else come into play, basically.
And a 30-foot Extreme leads the way in the Superboat V, and they are called LSB, Lilly Sport Boats. Here comes your leader in Superboat stock, Talbot Excavating. Number 51, Sunprint, still in second place in Superboat V. Tyler Talbot, Jay Muller doing a great job out there. Papa's Pilar trying to run him down.
Papa's Pilar rum, of course, the official rum of Superboat.
Scott Porte and Mike Fossey aboard Papa's Pilar rum. All right, round of the corner. That is turn number 2. Haven't seen too much action in that little hole there.
No, our Superboat Extreme boats are approaching that right now as they get ready to head into the final straightaway of what's going to be lap 4, leading lap 4 for them.
It looks like BBR got ahead of FJ Propellers. You know, FJ got by them in the last lap, but now BBR has passed FJ Propellers. They just went by us. But here's your leader in Superboat Extreme, Cooper Standard, coming our way. That boat is just in perfect trim. Look at that.
37-foot fountain V-hull design right there. He's opening up that lead, starting to really look like the odds-on favorite now.
Woo! How fast do you think those boys are going?
Do you feel the need for speed? Smart Marine Patriot Vapor still struggling, trying to maintain as much mileage as they can to get as many points as they can. Looks like they're dragging their starboard engine. And out of the limits coming by, still in third place.
But they have dropped way, way back.
Yeah, they'll do no worse than third today. Of course, we had the Freedom boat, number 12, drop out early on, second lap for them.
Yeah, good point. I'm sure they'll do some prop selecting. Be a little more careful next time. I think they may have propped themselves a little bit that outer limits boat, perhaps. There you see number 9, Phantom. They're in third place in Superboat V. There's your first place leader right there in Superboat Extreme. Cooper Standard Twisted Metal. Brett Firstman, Billy Glick, both Florida boys on board that fountain. I know Reggie's proud that 2 of his fountains are leading the way over that outer limits in that class.
He's probably chuckling up there, watching.
And don't forget our next race. The biggest and fastest race boats in the world, Superboat Unlimited. Looking forward to that, as we are for our final race at 2:30, SBI's premium class, premier and premium class Superboat, Tommy.
Well, very nice. Going to be a big moment for us, a big start to this week of racing.
As the laps wind down here in this half-lap sprint race for half points, Talbot Excavating has led the entire way. You can see that boat dancing off the waves, packing that air between those 2 hulls. Great battle on the back stretch now. It looks like I can't tell if that was
still Hooters. Still Hooters in second place. Super Standard in first. Rounding the turn right there in good shape. Dealing with the whole situation very, very well, although you never know exactly when you're out of the woods. In that turn right there, we've seen some thrills and spills there.
Here they come. This should be it. I'm looking for the checkered flag out there in pace boat number 1. Do not see it displayed yet. Well, what lap are we on, Nancy?
No, we're only on the 4th lap.
Oh, okay.
Going into the 5th. We've got
more.
going into the 5th lap.
There she goes, looking so good. Very, very strong run so far for Cooper Standard.
Hooters Instigator maybe gaining a little bit of traction on him, but they got a lot of ground to make up in a short time to do it.
That's all right. He's got 2 more days to
That's
make
right,
it good.
exactly. Great point, Nancy.
And as you know, Tommy, in this sport, one little spin out and you're getting right around. As we saw in the first race, anything can happen, and usually does in the sport of offshore racing. That's what makes it so exciting. This racetrack ever changing. And I'm starting to see some roller action out there, Tommy. You see those rollers rolling in, and they're hitting the boats at a side angle. You see Outer Limits getting a little bit of giant action. Of course, the Outer Limits boat runs a little looser than the Fountains because he has more steps in the bottom.
And all this that you're mentioning, agitation from the racing that started. When it started, you'd have to say it was close to perfect with the stand. You don't want total flat calm water. You don't want that adhesion to the water. You want to break it up so you can
we don't want
to get up on top and run.
Exactly. Don't want it too sticky out there for these boats. Got to free those big, heavy hulls up.
We've had a perfect day here for racing today. Little overcast, and that nice sun's not out there glaring on the water, so we're getting a good view. They're getting a good view. The water's getting a little choppy, which makes it a little bit more exciting, Stan.
Quite a few mega yachts out there in their spectator fleet as well.
Did you notice mine all the way out in the corner?
I did, yeah. Yours is actually a Fed ship.
It's 3 stories.
It's at least 130.
Well done, Nancy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are joining us on the live stream, and we certainly appreciate it on Superboat.com, SpeedOnTheWater.com, NASCARDigital.com, and on the airwaves, WKWF 1600 AM. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the biggest and the fastest race boats in the world. And the only place you'll find them is right here at Superboat International. John Carbonell and his entire staff bring them to you, and we are proud to do so. There is your leader in Superboat Extreme. Here are 2 Superboat stock boats headed our way. They're going right across that really dangerous area, but they're not bouncing too much, just a little bit as they go across that hole where that pipe runs out there. And this should be your leader, Talbot Excavating. They've led since the green flag was displayed. Can they keep it up? Can they maintain? Can they hold on? Tommy, we'll see.
They just sound so perfect. They sound like they've got everything right in line today as they're working around to their 6th lap. We're doing 6 3/4 laps.
Here we go. It's a little bit deceiving because of the angle, but it looks like the Hooters Instigator possibly closing in. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
absolutely.
they are. Oh, my God, they're side by side now. Hooters is getting by. Oh, brother, look at here.
We have got a development here.
It looks like Cooper Standard has lost a little bit of their momentum. Something could have happened. They may be overheated. It may be guardian mode. Could be anything. But whatever the case may be, Hooters Instigator is your leader now in Superboat Extreme.
Yeah, the Cooper Standard, the whole profile looks different. The Rooster Tail that you often mention higher right now, so definitely something's up.
Well, we just talked about it, Tommy. Anything can happen, and you see what did happen. Cooper Standard was the class of the field up until just that moment. And in the blink of an eye, that boat right there that has frozen on their screen.
Well, they're moving faster than they appear. We'll just say that, okay?
There they go.
Yeah, now we're right.
Now, will their 3rd place boat, Outer Limits, Tommy, be able to run down the 2nd place boat, Cooper Standard? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's not impossible. From what we saw going by, the Cooper Standard boat, definitely some big time trouble afoot there.
And we're working actually on our last lap here, gentlemen, with Superboat Extreme as they're going around. They're doing 6 3/4 laps.
The laps are winding down, that is for sure, but it's still heated out there, ladies and gentlemen. And we just had a major pass. Hooters Instigator got around Cooper Standard. Watching for him. We're watching for him on the screen, and we're peeking under the screen watching for him. Yeah. Cooper Standard well off the pace. Look at that.
Yeah.
Just putting along there. It's going to be definitely Hooters Instigator all the way, taking top points here. Of course, they're not done yet. we don't want to call anything too soon.
Which means that Outer Limits can also pass them.
Yeah, they're getting ready to heading up to turn number 1. But here's your leader headed already to turn number 2. Peter Meyer, Johnny Pop Stanch, out of the New York, New Jersey area. They are your leader in Superboat Extreme right now. There you see them.
So Joe Scrow, Steve Curtis now can do no worse than 2nd place points, provided they can bring it onto the barn here without any further incident.
Yeah, they got past Cooper Standard as they head up to turn number 1. All right, Peter Meyer, Johnny Stanch, here they come. They should be seeing a checkered flag waving for them as they come by.
They better, either that or I've counted completely wrong.
And here's your leader in Superboat stock, Talbot Excavating. No problems for that boat so far, S29. Bam, at 120 plus miles per hour. I didn't see a checkered flag,
I
Nance.
didn't either, and that is my 7th lap.
Well, me and Tommy are enjoying ourselves. As far as I'm concerned, we can continue racing.
It ends when it ends, shall we say?
2nd place, S1, Papa's Polar Rum going by. Mike Fossey, Scott Porte. They are the national champions for 2015 aboard that 32-foot Doug Wright boat. Mike hails from North Palm Beach, Florida, and Scott, Edgewater, Florida. But the New York connection right there in the Hooters Instigator. Now this boat has really been the class of this field. Lily Sport Boat, number 66. S111 has gotten firmly in front of Frank and Jimmy's propeller now. And there goes your second place in Superboat Extreme Outer Limits. Joe Scrow makes his home in Belmore, New York. There you go. Hooters is
And
headed
I
back
was
in.
right.
You're always right,
I
Nancy.
was right.
I never doubted you for a second. Now Tommy may have.
Yeah, lay it off on me. Throw
Just
me
kidding.
under the bus. Just
Just
throw
kidding.
this team. Hey, how about our top qualifying team throughout the length of the season? The Hooters Instigator boat there. Peter Meyer, John Stantz, just a perfect job today. Got a little bit of good fortune in the fact that the Cooper Standard boat encountered some trouble, but hats off to them. Top points
And
on
there
the
they
first
are.
day.
Yeah, speaking of Cooper Standard, there they are. That's what it looks like when you have either blown a drive or lost an engine. They're well off the pace, just trying to complete all of their laps. Several boats had some mechanical problems.
But that's what the first day's all about, Stan. You bring it out, you try it out, and then these guys will be working on them all the way up to Friday.
They'll get them repaired. They'll be back to join the fray one more time, as we hope you join us for the fray on Friday and then finally on Sunday for full laps,
Stan,
full points.
looks like we're getting a little shower coming through. Just a little wet. Just make it a little wet for us here.
Oh, we are. So we
Really?
are.
I'm checking out the liquid racetrack. It looks like it's bumping up a little bit out there. You can see some of those, the chop, the rollers, maybe 1 to 2s, 2s at the max. As Cooper Standard comes limping by now, but they did complete their laps. Smart Marine, Patriot Vapor also doing a little limping. Whoa.
Oh, that's not good.
That's the sound of a hurt engine.
Wow.
It's going to be that right drive into the stand as they head back into the
Yeah,
quickly. Going to get to work on that one.
Looks like the
And
starboard side, yes.
we
Talbot
just saw
Excavating.
Talbot
Yeah, they had no
yes.
problem whatsoever. Flawless run for them. Got to tip our hats. They did a great job. Jay Muller and Kyler Talbot. Jay will be back in our next race. No, I'm sorry, in their third race. He'll be back. And Papas Pilar Rum, a firm second place.
They
Strong
looked
run.
very good today. Very good. Papa's Pilar, the official rum of Superboats.
So coming up next at 1:30, which is not that far away actually, it will be Superboat Unlimited. 7 boats. That's just phenomenal. 7 boats in that class.
Oh,
I mean,
it's going to be so exciting, Stan.
I remember when we just had just one or two, just a couple of boats. Now we have 7 huge boats. These are the biggest and fastest in the world. And we have turbocharged power. We have supercharged power. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And it won't be long, roughly about 35 minutes, and we'll be getting ready for that next race as the boats wind down now, finish their lap. Unofficially, 3rd place BBR and 4th place FJ Propellers in Superboat stock. And unofficially in 1st place, Lily Sport Boat. Wow.
They looked great today.
They were the man today.
They
in that
were
class.
the man. Absolutely the man.
I'm sure Steve Miklos will have something to say about that. Here comes his boat right now. He's the national champion. He's going to do a little homework, some changes probably, as he comes across the start-finish line.
It looks like Peter Meyer is going to come right over in front of us, Stan.
Do a little victory drive by.
He's going to do what he does right.
Well, I tell you, they certainly earned it. They were in the hip pocket of Cooper Standard the entire race, well within striking distance, knowing should something happen, as it did, that they could just jump right into first place, and they did. And they held on to it, maintained it, Tommy, and that's what you get.
First place points, of course, for the Hooters Instigator there. Again, the 2nd place points are going to be going to the Outer Limits boat, actually. Twisted Metal Motorsports. Cooper Standard Boat held on, finished the race. Now you can explain for all of our viewers what's going to happen points-wise with the first boat to fall out who did not finish the race, and that would be the number 12, the Freedom Boat.
Yeah, right. Well, they'll get the minimum points.
They'll get their fourth place points either way.
They did start.
That's the only requirement.
Yeah, they didn't complete their lap, but you get points just for making the start. So, but they got the least number of points in that class, of course, because they ran the least distance. But that's not to say they still can be world champions should things look good for them Friday and Sunday.
No one's out of it at this point. We saw that altogether 2 or 3 times last year. A team that just had to leave a race and was able to come back, right the ship, so to speak, and get things right back on track and have a shot at the title on the final day.
Now, this is their final boat out there, and they are limping. I think that's Smart Marine, and they want to complete their final lap, so they'll get as many points as they can as they round turn number 1. So we'll wait for them to come back in. There you see them right there. They're at about a quarter of their full speed right now. They are up on plane, and we'll wait for them to complete their laps before we let you go. We turn it back over to Rick Lopez and his crew for the our second halftime show.
Exactly.
Those guys do a great job.
How can you have 2 halftimes?
We,
We're going to have 3 or 4.
Actually, we have like 3 or 4 half times, Tommy. It's not a problem here.
You did a different math class than I was in.
Our quarter time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to be
In
quarter time.
Quarter time.
We make it as quickly as
Our big
possible.
quarter time show.
Well, we want to thank everybody for coming out here for the second race today here on a beautiful Veterans Day. There is a little rain out there, but this will quickly pass. It has cooled down a little bit, which is also very nice here out at the Oder Mall. If you haven't made it, you got to come on out. Come through Racer Village down here at the end of Southern Street. Come on down. Visit with the racers, see the boats, talk to the crews. That's what's so great about this over here when we come in to Key West, and they're open to talk to you about anything and everything when it comes to boats. But on Veterans Day, we want to thank all our veterans, those who serve and those who are serving. Thank you very much for your service
Very
to our
important
country.
day. Important day.
We are going to have a parade. I believe it's at 4 o'clock. We'll start down Duval Street in the opposite direction this year. So I'll let you know a little bit more about that in just a few. But I think it's about time to wrap it up, guys, and I will get you out of here.
Now, I was just given the wrap-up sign from Roderick Cox, so we will wrap it up as we watch their last boat come in to complete his final lap. That is Smart Marine S110. So we'll turn things over to Rick Lopez, and we'll see you guys back here in roughly 25 minutes.
Thank you, Stan, and thank you, Tommy. This is Nancy D. here.